Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LJL officially unofficial cast. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Oh, God. Okay, slight technical problem, but it's fine. I just repeated myself. Who cares? Why not? It doesn't matter. Amateur cast, ladies and gentlemen, restreams and all that lovely good stuff in the middle. I am your host. Oh, God, it just happened again. It doesn't matter. The thing is, these two have no idea what's going on. I am your host, Mars1, otherwise known as Alex or Lexi. I am, of course, joined, as always, by my color commentator and play-by-play caster, Initializer Nymera. I'm going to fusion it back over to you. Both, please introduce yourselves.
I mean, so this is getting cut out of the VOD, right?
No. It's all in. It's all in, okay. Right?
So as always, I'm Alex Nymera Hapgood. I'm the color caster. It's a bit of a different setup today. In very typical Japanese style, we've been hit by storm weather. We were meant to be taking a train down to London today, and so we're casting from home with whatever we could find around. Luckily, we've got a lot of bits and pieces hanging around. But
indeed, we do. So yeah, we're in a bit of luck. Fortunately, we had a mic lying around. We have a laptop that's put us together. So here we are, live, and I am Sam, Initialize Hapgood, here despite storm complications and mildly bemused by my host and whatever happened beforehand. We sort of sat here
we have no idea.
And watched him freak out. It was kind of great.
So part of the reason is, I'll explain this because I can, and why not? We've got time, so who minds? I'm watching all the streams in conjunction to everything. So we've got we are now streaming out to 4 different platforms. And obviously to monitor that, I need to have them going. At the very beginning, one of them wasn't muted. So my beautiful voice came out through my headphones and I start freaking out because I'm like, that will also be going on the stream.
Slightly problematic.
Yes, and if it goes on for long enough, it will definitely. Oh God, it's done it again. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I will fix this as we go through.
Everything is fine.
It's all fine. It's like, not. Nothing's on fire.
Okay.
Even in stormy weather, someone finds the way to set their house on fire.
So while our host cum producer is doing whatever it is that needs to be done,
it's fine. I swear, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Until that time.
We're bringing you 4 games today. It's the 4 games that we didn't get to yesterday. If you're not aware of how the LJL works in the regular season, what we had yesterday was 4 teams playing at the start of the day, playing in 4 separate matches, then 4 teams playing at the end of the day in 4 separate matches. The teams we have today are.
I've got it. I'll do it. I'm host. I'll let you do some of it. But I'll take the host duty back because this is the only time I get to talk. You're about to have 25, 30 plus minutes probably of talking over action-packed, thrilling stuff. So
that's true. My voice is ready.
We've got our first game is going to be Crest Gaming Act versus Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming, or SHG, as they will also be known as. In game 2, we also have Fukuoka SoftBank Gaming Hawks versus Sengoku Gaming, and that is our game of the week for this week.
It's looking good.
We then have Sengoku Gaming versus Rascal Jester, and to round it out, we have Rascal Jester versus Crest Gaming Act. Now, obviously, I already hinted on one of these games that we're covering today is actually our game of the week, that being Fukuoka SoftBank Gaming versus Sengoku Gaming. And part of the reason it is our game of the week is in our personal tier list, these both teams were in our top 3 for all of us.
Yep. And I picked Sengoku to win the split.
Yes.
I'm aware you, Lexi, did pick the SoftBank Hawks to win, and LJL analyst, ex-coach, ex-pro player, Maple Street really rating them too. So you're in with some high-tier company there, my friend.
I mean, when it comes to them winning, and I can go, so I told you so, I'm going to be able to get video. I'm going to bring up video, because as the producer, I can do this. I'm going to bring up video and be like, hey, guys, so should we talk about how I told you both so? Should I do that?
Analysts play the long game, math one. But why don't we talk about the first game of the day? Because that's what we've got in front of us.
Absolutely. So we have Crest Gaming Act. the semi-finalists. This team was the semi-finalists of the 2019 summer split versus the brand new team on the block, Fukuoka SoftBank Gaming Hawks.
Yep.
This is going to be definitely an interesting match. This is Fukuoka's SoftBank Gaming Hawks, or SHG's first outing on the LJL, so definitely going to be a very exciting endeavor. Obviously, Crest Gaming, as we covered in our podcast, that's the first plug of the day.
Yep.
Of the podcast. They're a team that have been around for several years, actually, in the LJL, so there is high expectations, and they're normally a team that actually make it to playoffs. So, yeah, that's going to be definitely exciting.
So Crest Gaming, they finished third last split. They had a very competitive semi-final versus V3, and both of these teams are actually relatively changed now. Crest Gaming having their jungler leave in Hachimecha, he's left now, and their substitute jungler Yoshi has stepped into the main roster. But more importantly, the bot lane has had some significant changes. We're bringing Gango from Katie Rolster fame from last year, all the way back to being a substitute on Samson White, apocryphally so. And on the other side of the rift, we have SoftBank Hawks, which is, as you're saying, a new team, but with a lot of familiar faces.
Yeah, so
indeed, and SoftBank. Yeah, so SoftBank Hawks have a couple of my all-time favorite LJL players, but in the top lane we've got Dasher, who was their was USG, who the team that SoftBank Hawks replaced. He was USG's mid laner. But in the mid lane and the jungle, we've got Ramone and Tussle, who are this old school power mid jungle duo from Rampage when they were a team in the LJL, and they ran over the league, even with DFM, even with Seros, even with Steel around. These guys were causing some serious. So it's an absolute pleasure to have them back on the rift. Ramone was a DFM substitute last year. DFM had, in quite a high-profile move, taken him and stolen him away from the rest of the league, took away their big competition. But he's back, and it's a real pleasure to watch him hopefully play again. And over down in the bot lane, we've got a couple new faces in Honey, and Honey being a Korean import, I don't think we've really seen before, but I've got high hopes for him from what we've heard from various.
Yeah, I'm a big Honey supporter. I made that very clear on the podcast. That's number two plug. That's number two.
We say he has a sweet tooth.
Oh, boy.
Oh, I've got a tiny one. And man, this man, he got me. He's got me. I'm interested in what he's selling. And it's going to definitely be a very interesting matchup. I don't... Obviously, I've got a biased way in where I am voting that I'm expecting this game to go. Obviously, I would like to see Fukuoka pick up this win. But what about you two, before we go into Champ Select? What do you guys have a feeling of?
I think off both of our power rankings, there we go, that's the word I'm looking for, we would definitely put SoftBank Hawk over Crest Gaming. I think Ramone and Tussle are just ridiculously good players in the LJL, and I have a lot of faith in them. Ramone was playing with DF, Tussle was playing with USG, so it's not like they're totally out of practice. Yeah, Ramone wasn't on stage, but he was playing, you know, and hopefully you'd assume sharing some scrim time or some practice time with the best team in the league last year. So I have a lot of faith with these two coming in pretty hot and making Crest Game struggle a little bit in that department, I guess.
Yeah. So for me, so in my in the preseason power rankings, I've put SoftBank Hawk as my third best team. So that means that they are ahead of Crest Gaming, who I think I put in fourth or fifth, one of the two. I can't remember completely, but I don't know how long it's going to take them to realize their potential, because Dasher was a mid laner, now gone to top lane. They do have a fantastic mid laner in Ramone, but there's also this new bot lane of Honey and Poo. So I'm wondering, in the first game of the split, it might be a struggle to go against Arya, who we know is a good mid laner, works very well with his previous teammates of Nap and Yoshi, and also Gango coming in, who is a very good laning, very good carry ADC. So actually, just because it's the first game of the split, and I'm not too sure synergy, I'm actually going to give it to Crest.
Interesting. I don't think that's a completely... Your reasoning does make sense to me.
So put it this way, at the end of the split, when these guys face again, I would give it to SoftBank. But for today, and maybe today only, Crest has it for me.
Yeah, I think that's some reasonable thinking. What about you, Sam?
I get it. Like, Crest Gaming were the other team that did extremely well towards the end of last summer split. I think they went 17 and tying Detonation Focus Me's games.
Yep.
they've kept their solo laners, who were both quite good. Arya, in particular, was previously known as Luna, who was an absolute terror in the mid lane.
LeBlanc and Lucian.
Absolutely. And I assume those picks could still be quite dangerous in the current meta, so it'd be good to see them. Gango has stage experience in the LCK. He is clearly quite a good talent. So there is enough power on that roster to take SoftBank Hawks down. I am just aware that what both are bringing in some new untested players. And I think the experience and talent of Tussle and Ramone in particular will shine through in this case.
Interesting thoughts. Well, with that all in mind, I think it's about time that we get onto the Rift, and sadly I must depart for this period of time. But who knows? Who knows in the future? Maybe I might come and give my thoughts in the future.
If there's a pause.
If there's a pause. If there's a pause. We'll find out.
It's still day one.
Absolutely. Anything is possible. Anyway, I will quickly count us in 3, 2, 1. And good luck on the Rift, and good luck to the players and the teams. Take care, guys.
Thank you very much, Mass One. So we're heading into Champion Select. So let's see what these guys have as a read on the...
Okay, but before that, let's run down some of the players. Over for Crest Gaming at in the top lane, it's Snap. Jungle is Yoshi. Mid lane is Arya, formerly known as Luna. Gango and Grendel round out their bot lane.
Okay, and on the other side, on the red side, we have in the top lane, Dasher, the jungle, Tussle, mid lane, Ramone, bot lane, Honey, and Pooh.
I'm so excited to see Ramone back, but despite that, we've seen a Draven ban versus Gango straight away. This guy was a Draven one-trick, a notorious Draven player, out in Korean solo queue, out for Katie Rolster even, and of course, Crest Gaming out banning Syndra first round.
Yeah, also noteworthy that Draven's ultimate did get a bit of a buff in the last patch, scales a bit more with the bonus AD as you get more ranks into that ability. We see the Rumble ult coming out, Rumble ban coming out from the blue side of Crest Gaming.
The ultimate equalizer, the ban.
The ultimate equalizer, the ban, yeah. So Syndra and Rumble definitely in the top tier flex picks and mid laners as well. You know, they're both very high mid-game teamfight damaging champions.
I'm still getting used to Rumble being a mid-lane priority pick rather than necessarily a top-lane one, even if he is very flexible. Akali, again, banned. Understandable, still a very strong champion. And speaking of strong champions, Lucian banned away, but by the team that has formerly known as Luna Arya. I will get that phrasing right one day.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we see the Lucian banned, another one of these fantastic flex picks between actually both solo lanes and the bottom lane. I think that Arya and Gango both very proficient on that champion. And we see another first pick set coming in today.
Indeed. Has been a kind of choice of contention for analysts across the world, Set being first pick. There are a lot of potential answers into him, but Misfortune and Jarvan picked up. I like these two picks.
Yeah, it's a good combo. We've seen some fantastic Jarvan games throughout the day as well. Obviously, Steel having 2 games on it. The jungler for Detonation focused me. He's in my short list for Player of the Week, actually, from his fantastic engages. But we see the Lee Sin come across from Yoshi. Not seen so much of that today, but does have a good matchup early on into this Lee Sin.
Lee Sin, of course, is one of those notoriously powerful early off the table. Lee Sin is still available. Quite an easy and obvious pickup for Yoshi.
Yeah, and I don't think that we're going to see Elise not be banned for a while. And actually, we're seeing a Senna, and this is ahead of the likes of which is a very strange pick as well in a lot of its ways. Both of these being reworked, being over the preseason. They're valued very highly across the globe, giving a lot of those heals, a lot of those team fights, and a lot of utility outside of regular AD checklist.
So the first 4 games of this day, we saw Aphelios really heavily prioritized, but never mind that. We've seen a Corki locked in, primarily, we assume, for Ramone.
Yeah, I have to imagine this is going to be in the mid lane for Ramone. And what I can see here now is that we have a Jarvan with 280 carries. Now, the engage of the Jarvan is pretty great with the Misfortune. But the thing is that actually the standard from Jarvan gives actually a lot of attack speed, which means that when you do have these AD building carries, they're just going to have that extra steroid on top of their regular.
Yes, that's going to be a strong one. But we are around the round 2 bans, and LeBlanc banned away pretty swiftly by SoftBank Hawks. And that is a fairly big deal because the Leona is also banned because that duo with Misfortune is a strong one.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good ban right there. We see the Kiana coming in from SoftBank Hawks as well. So that's 2 mid laners out in this second round of bans. obviously targeting the unpicked mid lane for Crest Gaming. Both of these some very high damaging assassin-like mid laners that Arya could pick up.
And again, Arya does like that early priority. He likes to be able to get around the map and make some impact. And with your versus something like a Corki, it's nice to get out of that lane and make other lanes suffer while he's sort of around farming, I guess.
And we see the Gangplank band as well. So I think Gangplank is maybe my sleeper OP for the LJL in particular. I think that the LJL doesn't particularly like to head towards the top lane unless Elise is in the draft. He does have that fantastic ability to gank top lane early. And Gangplank really does well with a lot of these isolated 1v1s.
Well, Honey has picked up Braum here for his support poo, and actually I think that's a really sensible pick. I think Braum not being on Crest Gaming Act means that the rockets from Corki, the bullet time from Misfortune are free to hit whoever they want to. Really sensible, but the Nautilus in response is a very strong power pick as well.
Yeah, Nautilus being the other premier engaged support alongside Leona, which was banned away, as we were saying. I think it does pretty well into the Nautilus, into the Braum as a melee matchup. I think that Nautilus is good in pretty much any lane. Gives CGA some needed engage. I think Set is some good secondary engagement. Doesn't necessarily want to be taking the brunt of the initial engagement.
We see Zoe picked as well. That's a lot of poke available, and also quite potentially something that can match the Corki strong mid lane pick. We're seeing a Kayle hover here as well. We did see it earlier, and it's been picked. Yeah. I'm assuming that's going all the way up to Dasher, and this is his first time out in the top lane, so that is a strong statement coming through.
It's a lot of responsibility put onto the shoulders of Dasher. Kayle is very much the scaling pick, doesn't give you too much agency in the early game, but does have the save the carry ultimate button as we go into these mid-game team fights as well. But we do see the Zoe coming about, as we said. Zoe into Corki does have a decent amount of kill pressure, but not necessarily able to out-wave clear the Corki at the same time. You know, it's going to be quite a nullified matchup in the mid lane unless those sleepy trouble bubbles start landing.
And I suppose what the Corki does allow for, along with bullet time if you have to burn it, is wave clear to keep the game stalled before Kayle can hit her items and really hit her. So potentially a clever use of the Kayle, but we have been having this discussion. We're not sure about Kayle's priority currently in the league.
Yeah, so I think that Kayle has a lot of priority into Set after the level 6 mark, especially once she gets the Gunblade as well. But to be honest, like, it takes a while for Kayle to really start taking over a game. And by that point, the dragons are already kind of down, Baron's being threatened, and Kayle has to be put into team fights, sometimes at a losing gold state.
Okay, so let's look over these rosters. Where are you thinking the drafts come to? Who do you think's pulled out the advantage here?
So Senna hasn't been picked up today by any of the other teams, I don't think. So one thing that I do notice from this Corki pick is that obviously it is a poke champion, but when you're playing a poke champion against the Senna, it means less and less as the game goes on because Senna can just heal up all of these champions. And also the likes of Set having massive base regen, Zoe taking the Ravenous Hunter, being able to sustain quite a lot by herself. So yeah, I think that maybe the Senna can shut down a lot of what SoftBank Hawks want to do, but this Jarvan standard buffing up 3 attack speed carries is going to be quite impactful into these mid-game team fights.
That's a really good thought. And as we come onto the Rift and game is on, let's see how these predictions play out. So we're seeing even fan across the board from both teams and a pause. So such is the way of day one of games. Do you want to come and join us, Master Swan, and we'll get talking about that draft a little more?
Okay, so interesting draft in my eyes. Very interesting draft.
Yeah, I think that the Corki coming out is not something I expected, to be honest.
No, is that like a... Do you guys know if that's a Ramune, like, picker? Like, is that like a pocket pick? Is that like Ceres with his Heimer?
So I think what it's partly is we've got to remember that Ramune is an old school Corki for many years, was strong, very stable pick, and this is his first time back on stage. It's quite easy to play safe on Corki and still have a big impact, so I think that's probably part of it. I think there's also an element that it is good wave clear, it is poke, and the fact that it offers a little bit that wave clear and that poke pairs it quite nicely with the Kayle that does need to scale.
Yeah, also, we're actually back out of the pause,
yeah,
but
looks like it.
Thank you for joining us very quickly. Any last words you want to say before we send us off again?
Nah, just do it good.
Kind words indeed, sir. After the game, hopefully no more pauses.
Yeah, so one thing about this Corki again, because it is kind of the sore thumb in this draft for me, really, is that I think Corki is quite good into a lot of these AP burst champions because you have that ability to build into the Hex Drinker, take a little bit of extra magic resist, and overall be able to stay relatively safe.
Indeed, I still one day wish to see the Randuin's Omen Corki dive build popularized by the old Gambit AD carry Genja in solo queue. It was a glorious thing to dive in, everybody around. No one. One day I will see the great package delivery into the Randuin Slayer, but hopefully not today.
I'm good. Okay, so we see these junglers starting off to the Jarvan getting a leash on the top side. Lee Sin not getting a leash.
Synergy. Sorry, I have to interrupt. Braum, Santa Skin, Misfortune Candy Cane. That is some quality work there, Honey and Poo. It's not just the name synergy, it's the skin synergy. Thank you, guys. That's quality work.
Yeah, that's really what we care about.
It is.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely, it is.
Maybe you care about that when you're in solo queue, but this is the first day of the LJL competitive games. Yeah, so we're going to see how these early lanes play out. I think that Set does have a lot of ways to take winning trades versus the Kel, particularly if Kel strays a little bit too close and gets taken in with that face breaker.
Indeed, and of course, Facebreaker is going to be something that Set will need to use if he wants to get something of an edge early on this lane before the range comes in at level 6. Looking at a red to blue and Gromp start for Jarvan, who's going to be out on the map as early as he can. He will be out on the map on this bot side. And we're seeing Lee Sin be down there early too, so we might see a little action around there, but we'll have to wait and see what they plan on doing.
Yeah, so just briefly right now, we have junglers on both sides of the map. We'll see where they really want to influence first. I think that when you do have a Kayle on the top lane, it's never a bad idea to shut that champion down, but it doesn't look like Jarvan's really heading there right now. I think we might scuttle. Lee Sin just looking around bot lane, but there is a ward in river.
And that's a smart ward. It will pick them up. Yep, he's just on vision now, but that's a good route on Flash, but Yoshi has ward up forwards, and he's got a lot of damage down the igniter, but that's a really good shield there from Braum, who might die for his AD carry synth, but flashes as well. That's all Summoner's burnt now from the bot lane. But here comes Tussle in behind. This is going to be a counter gank, but no, getting out of there now. Flags dragged over the wall. That's the end of that. Look at that health bar on Honey. Just about gets out.
That is some limit testing. We've been saying that a little bit throughout the day. But yeah, blowing all 4 summoners from the bot lane, only for the cost of Grendel summoners on the Nautilus.
But this is a level 2 dive. Grendel's here, but there's a teleport coming in from one of the SHG members. Lee Sin gets first blood, but it's turned around. That's a 2 kills now. One for the Corki of the Lee Sin, and Jarvan picks up the other. That was not well advised now for CGA.
Oh, that's a pretty sad dive for CGA. We see that 2 kills going over the side of SoftBank. The Jarvan's got a nice little early bit of pressure there. Manages to keep the flash. Lee Sin loses his in that fight as well.
Indeed, and like all that goes down as the Braum, but he gets 2 assists and he gets an early boo-hoo. And actually, Ramone's off to a 1-0 start. Tussle's off to a 1-0 start. And yeah, the Lee Sin gets a kill, but that's a bit miserable in terms of the trade there. That was not the best moment. Honey and Poo have taken into the mid lane here to make sure that the wave doesn't get shoved in too badly for their mid laner. Kind work there from the bot lane.
Facebreaker missing in the top lane there, but we do see that this set, getting a little bit of an advantage, but the waves are going to even out. Looks happy to kind of just farm this up at turret. Not really one of those champions which is looking to take too many turret plates.
No, and we did mention earlier, of course, the Klepto removal from the roster of Keystones is a difficult one. For Kayle, it means that she does struggle to get up to those items she really needs. Are quite expensive ones, but she's okay going down a few CS and just staying safe and getting chance to scale. But look at this, Yoshi is back down at this bot lane one more time, but he's on a wall, but that means double control ward now in the river for CGA. SoftBank Hawk Gamings are going to struggle to get into that river. It's going to be, they've got to find a way to get in touch with that vision control, but they are looking CGA to start up this Cloud Drake.
Yeah, so an early Cloud Drake taken, just get you stacking towards that Dragon Soul earlier into the game. That bot lane was in a pretty bad spot for Honey and Poo, for just as it zoomed into picture there. You really don't want to see the lane frozen against you when you're already down summoners.
Yeah, and let's be real, Misfortune, no particular abilities to get out of things outside of a speed up from a strut. And with no flash and versus a Nautilus and a Lee Sin, sounds like a risk to me.
And we even saw in that the flash blown gank that the root landing from the center also pretty effective as well. Misses there though.
Yeah, and the ward kill there as well. SoftBank Hawks still in the dark there in the bot lane, but looking around, pretty even everywhere else. And in fact, the waves did even up pretty much perfectly in the top lane by the looks of it. 41 to, well, roughly 41 as well as these waves start crashing
Yeah,
again.
and now actually this Kayle has level 6 and there's no advantage been gained by Nap on this set, which means that this Kayle is actually really happy at this point in the game. Hasn't backed yet, hasn't had need to use the tip flash, hasn't had to use the TP. The wave's in a pretty decent spot, just pushing in maybe for an eventual reset. Get a Cutlass, get a little bit of AP maybe.
Indeed, and that's another route now for Senna. We'll see if that goes further, but no, just a little bit more pressure on this bot lane. That was a pretty good embrace from the Senna there, holding Misfortune in place.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and this is what we see what happens when 2v2s tend to be these win harder lanes. You know, if you manage to eke out an advantage either in items or in summoners, just tends to snowball that lane pretty hard.
And you say it's an advantage, but the gold is dead even. So yes, it's a little bit of a CS lead for Senna, but those 2 kills from that dive earlier are still keeping SoftBank Hawks in this game. Yoshi going in for invade on this Gromp. There's still a lot of vision around this side, but Tussle is here, possibly looking for a lane gank. We'll see where it is, or maybe just here to counter because he knows that people are in his jungle.
Does
he steal? Nice little smite.
And he's actually hit level 6 while Yoshi's a level 4. That's huge for this team fighting jungle of the Jarvan.
Absolutely. Well, that's because Lee Sin died and Jarvan got 2 kill involvement's worth of experience, and he's 8 CS up with that Gromp kill. I'm assuming Yoshi can't be super far. Well, he's level 4, as you said. I was going to say he can't be that far of level 6, and in fact, he can. A whole level behind.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. She's 2 camps behind just in the raw metrics of it, but I guess Tussle's managed to eke out a bit of XP, either from going around the lanes or just picking up a little few more of those more valuable camps. Oh, poo, you just missed that cannon. Everyone needs to take those cannons, even the supports, if no one's there.
Indeed. That's going to sting a little, but there we go. It happened. We'll judge him for now, but hopefully he'll do a little better afterwards. But apart from that, we're looking at Senna trying to get hold of these turret plates, but it's not the easiest thing for her. She does have in fact, she has static attack speed growth, doesn't really get the option to kill tower plates all that quickly.
Well, if you're only spending a couple of seconds on the tower, you do get to auto reset with that Q, which your Q actually, the line skill shot does actually count as an auto attack. It means you take down turrets pretty okay still.
Really? Okay, yeah, so that's a worthy little note to have in my roster of information about the champ. Of course, she's still not going to be the best objective taker.
No.
Struggles with the likes of Baron takes later in the game. In fact, I can't. Indeed, Dasher level 8, and suddenly this Kayle in lane. We talked about how it was quite a good matchup in isolation versus the set. And with the Cutlass pickup, starting to make that lane a bit miserable for set.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty just with like the slowdown and the Bilgewater Cutlass buying you this extra couple of autos. And also remember that Kayle's E, that extra empowered auto, works on missing HP. So if you manage to slow people down and take them to a bit lower HP, then that execute does do a little bit extra damage.
Okay, and indeed that's all well and good. But with the pressure that Kayle has got, Tussle's managed to slip into the Rift Herald as it spawned and pick that up at just about 9 minutes, which is a huge pickup now for SoftBank Hawks. That Rift Herald can be dropped somewhere, claim a lot of plates, and pull that goal total a little higher for them.
Yeah, for sure. And if you manage to get these plates onto this Kayle, you're really off to a running start there. I think Kayle in this game is set up to succeed. Has has the pushing lane, has the CS advantage, has a lot of that first Bilgewater allowing Kayle to stack up. The overheal looks like that rune has been taken by Kayle as well. Gives you a little bit of that extra shield to play with in these close trades. Oh, Nap running up to
and there is Yoshi just going over the wall, and Grendel is here too. Dash is going to have to think about putting a Divine Judgment down, but that's a flash suplex now. Throws a Divine Judgment down. It's a fair amount of damage, but Tussle's going, yeah, mate, you're dead. Never mind. And that's Senna not picking that up with a Dawning Shadow. It is Nap who'll pick up that kill. But that was everybody turning up to pile on the Kayle there.
Yeah, so that was the flash pseudo insect from the set into actually the Dragon's Rage kick coming as well. A lot of split displacement coming out. 3-man roam into the top lane definitely works out for CGA there, taking down that top lane carry.
Indeed it is, and we're looking at flash blown for that. And actually, to Dash's credit, he didn't blow his flash, which I think was probably quite sensible.
Yeah, I think at that point, using the ultimate's fine. It's a low cooldown. You don't really want to blow that flash, though. The lane wasn't in a great position for Dasher. It just pushed up a little bit. And that's something that we do talk about a lot in these higher level games, is that if the wave is against you, then you're really in a risky position as a lot of these lower HP, lower escape champions.
Yeah, of course. Still got that Rift Herald to keep an eye on. Still got 4 odd minutes before the plates run out. So we'll see where that gets dropped. But apart from that, we're hitting probably a relatively stable state. The fact that Dasher did manage to keep his flash doesn't mean he can still at least keep pushing.
Yeah, it also means you can buy a little bit of extra space in this range versus melee matchup. Hopefully deny a bit of that damage coming through in the harder trades.
All right, Tussle starting off this Ocean Drake, but there is a control ward on the back of the pit for CG. This quite well at times with Senna and Lee Sin's back. So they've got this dragon down to half HP already. I think they're going to claim it. Yoshi is here, but he's going to have to ward hop over if he wants to think about this. Is not going for it. And that's going to be dragon pickup for SoftBank Hawks. And of course, Corky had the package there as well. Would have been a real...
it's an Infernal Rift.
It is an Infernal Rift. And once again, Dasher finding another one of these good Cutlass trades onto Nap. But a Haymaker, good shield there, stops Dasher touching any border.
You know the funny thing there is, actually, he didn't need to use the Cutlass for the slow because he was already picking up the Honey Fruit, which slows him down.
Yeah, no, well, I suppose it's just extra damage at that point.
Yeah, but it's a little bit of...
but you're absolutely right. That's a very...
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of... do you remember back when Zed used to take Blade first?
Yes, I
Blade
do.
Zed back in Season 3?
Before lethality was even a thing.
Well, it's because Build Order does a decent chunk. It does like 100 magic damage, something like that. Oh, and maybe that's just Blade. But yeah, it does a decent amount of damage on that first proc. Herald Summon top by Tussle, though, as we stopped talking about the past on champions, which were irrelevant.
We're talking about how Kale needs a lot of gold to hit her items. Great way of getting her those items is forcing some plates out early for her. So this is going to be a couple more plates and another one there. So that's 3 plates in one charge. You'll take that quite happily as Kale.
Yeah, for sure. Oh,
and Gango taking so much damage out for this bullet time has to flash away, and that's a great shield there to stop any return. But Grendel and Gango both real low now. Piercing Shadow does heal Grendel though at the end there, going to force them away. But that's a big health bar advantage now for SoftBank Hawks.
Yeah, so we see both ultimates used from the bot lane of SoftBank Hawks. We do see the flash taken away from Senna. Senna is not a champion with a dash. Does have that slight move speed increase from the curse of the shadow.
I'm going to interrupt you because here we go one more time. Pooh is going to have to dash away to Honey, but it's a teleport in from... They do have so many on this game. So that's going to be the kick away now as you speak onto the Corky. That's a Dawning Shadow coming through. I think this is going to be the end of it. And that's a good flash though. Keeps him alive. Pooh, solo, finally taken out by Gango.
How many flashes is this Zoe going to get?
So many, you're right. And she's going forwards again, but Honey just about survives on a sliver of HP. Ramano's here to save the turret. So is Tussle. Wasn't around for the early fight, but he gets hit by the bubble. Yoshi's here, does flag and drag, buffers that well. But the tower is taking so much damage in response.
Oh man, I love what happens when these champions just randomly fall asleep mid-animation. So a very interesting thing about the Jarvan ult, the flag and drag means that it's not actually coded as a movement ability, so it can...
Wait, another teleport coming in. That's the Cataclysm and the no flashes anymore because they burn. So much trouble. Dasher picks that up with a Divine Judgment and Grendel is so dead. No. Double kill to the Kale. They stuck around too long.
That is 2 kills to a Kale who's just about to hit level 11. We'll probably get the Gunblade on this. Well, get most of the Gunblade off of those 2 kills as well. This Kale is in such a good position. Oh, it's a full Gunblade as well. Okay, well, I'm sorry, CGA. You're going to have to deal with a pretty hard Kale to deal with now. That is a horrible fight for CGA. Fantastic re-engagement by Tussle on this Jarvan onto the bot lane of CGA. Like you said, just stuck around too long.
Yoshi once again finding his way to SoftBank Hawks jungle, but he's actually got... He's still... I struggle to see off this tiny little screen we're having a cast over today. A level down on Tussle, and that's possibly going to scale a little bit harder than you'd like with the current jungle XP. And Tussle picking up another Scuttle Crab here as well, just in time for them to get some vision control around this Infernal Drake that we're spawning in about a minute and a half.
Yeah, you know, it's nice that SoftBank managed to get a bit of extra bot lane control around there after those couple of kills came in. It will be important, though, that actually all be up from CGA for this next Dragon fight as well. No meaningful cooldowns down except for the flashes of the bot lane, which we also need to keep
Wait. We got a teleport of Set in behind the KO. Going to get slowed by the Gunblade. Flash away from Dasher. Saves him from trouble, but he does have to burn that flash. Grendel was coming up, so was Yoshi. Probably had to do exactly that, actually. Otherwise, he was going to be in so much trouble with the showstopper. There's the word I was going to call it a suplex, which it is strictly, but I'm trying to ensure I use sometimes the right name for that ultimate.
I didn't grow up watching wrestling, but I know.
First turret claimed as a result of Dash having to back off that top tower by CGA.
I'm quite surprised that CGA committed the teleport of the Set towards that top lane, but they will get the Herald off of it and, just buying that, gets the tower, gets the Herald, but the Dragon is coming up in 30 seconds and they won't have a teleport to contest that with now.
Yeah, I was just about to mention we're looking at the Braum just putting a lot of wards down there. I actually half thought it was up and I hadn't been paying attention to that timer in the top corner, which was not a good sign. But there we go. Actually, 20 seconds. I was so excited to see an Infernal fight, so I'm glad there actually will be and it won't be just a quick trade.
Yeah, and coming into this fight, we're actually going to see quite a lot of key items completed. We see, obviously, the Triforce spike on the Corki, one of those very important spikes on that champion as well. We see the Gunblade, as we were talking about, to great length on the Kayle. We see that a couple of items are coming from the other side, though. Mana Moon coming in the Mana Moon coming in from Gango. We see that there's a Black Cleaver completed for the set as well as there's a bit of posturing and poke coming in now.
Indeed, we're going to see a bit of a attempted contest now around this, but the Rift Herald summon just as the Infernal Drake comes up. CGA will use the Rift Herald to buy time to go towards this Infernal Drake. Let's see how quickly SoftBank Hawks can get rid of this and whether they can contest the Infernal Drake quickly enough. They are there. The Drake is still pretty healthy, but that's a lovely route into bubble there from the Zoe and Senna. But the Dragon's still on pretty high HP, and that's a great package. Grendel taking so much damage, Nap in trouble as well. Sure Grendel, but that's a Dawning Shadow as well. But that's a fantastic Divine Judgment, and actually it's 2 kills now for SoftBank Hawks, and Zoe is having to run for the hills. Gango slowed by the Make It Rain from his fortune, and suddenly there is a Sonic Wave down by Yoshi, but it doesn't mean he can claim it. Tussle picks up the Infernal Drake, and there are 2 kills now for SoftBank Hawks.
I'm not going to lie. I thought that was going to be a package into death from Ramone, but the Kayle ult comes out, buys them enough time for Honey to have a great bullet time across the team fight. It's 2 kills over to SoftBank, and it's also their second Dragon in the Infernal. Now they're well on their way towards that soul.
Indeed they are, but it does mean the mid lane's going to go down, but with the Rift Herald summon, it was always going to be somewhat inevitable, I suppose. Let's go into this replay and see how this turned out.
Going through this corridor against Zoe, always pretty scary, but this is a 3-man package from the side of Ramone there. Gets in, gets the Valkyrie back. Everyone's standing in that mini Rumble ultimate and gets the Kayle ult to survive through a lot of the bursts coming back. And at that point, it's pretty much game over. It's fight over at that point. Set has died after tanking up most of the team. Grendel goes down as well. And, there just wasn't enough damage available immediately from Crest to contest that Dragon.
And we did have our concerns about Kayle and how long she'd take to be online. But the fact that you can throw that Divine Judgment on a Corki that can go hell for leather with a package means that's actually a huge amount of area effect wombo combo and can deny a lot of the burst that a Senna and a stacked up Haymaker from set wants to do. And that turned out really well there in that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that actually the Hawks did the right thing in not delaying too much on that Dragon because, every second you wait is another second off the next Paddle Star, which is going to be flying towards you. This Zoe is at level 12 now, has that second rank in the ultimate, meaning that her little portal jump up quite often. It means that you are going to be at risk of being poked if you stand in the same place for too long.
Yeah, and let's just check in with the gold totals. It's about just under 1,000 gold for SoftBank Hawks. That slight swing there from being just down a couple hundred before the Infernal fight has gone up the other way. But even so, they have got the Dragon advantage. They have got a scaling advantage with a Corki and a Kayle. This is a bit of a difficult spot now for Crest Gaming Act, who need to find something as we come into this mid-game proper. And if they want to contest, because if this game goes on the way it has been, they're going to struggle further and further in these fights.
I think what CGA are really looking for is to stall out a given objective fight and then just see if they can poke out, see if they can... If you can land a good Paddle Star combo on someone, the Dawning Shadow might just be able to finish them off.
Yes, absolutely. And let's be real, they have a lot of unusual engage, right? We've got a Set who can teleport and find his way into the... We've got Elise Sin, who's been notorious as his entire existence as a champion, finding his way into a backline. We've got Nautilus with everything he does being about CC. They do have ways to hard commit onto some of these quite squishy champions on the side of SoftBank Hawks as well.
Yeah, but I guess my worry is that there's a lot of single target damage against a Kayle. And Kayle, one of the reasons I don't necessarily like Kayle being played so much is that a lot of teams do have large AoE threats. This team is not actually one of them. So Kale's ultimate does have quite a large amount of value in this game. When there's stuff like the Lee Sin kick, Paddle Star going onto the slept target, and you've got, the Senna incidental damage coming across as well. It's not like you're throwing, massive amounts of AoE like the Misfortune could do on the other side of the bridge.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're looking at the 1-3-1 begin. Dasher has picked up a stinger now as well. Got a 20 CS lead. This set is going to struggle to hold on in this lane. And actually, Corki on the other side with the teleport can run another lane down. In fact, he already took the top lane turret just a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I should have said this in the early games. It's more relevant there. But actually, Dasha went for the more early game lane survival rune of the Fleet Footwork on this Kale. But what it does do is means that if you walk up to this set, you get that little speed boost on every certain auto when you charge up that passive, when you start moving around and auto attacking. What that means is that combined with the slow from Kale's Q and the Gunblade slow means that Kale actually has a lot of ways to kite around this set.
She does indeed, and we're going to have to take a brief pause because we have a slight technical difficulty with our end of the stream. Right, back into game. Apologies again for that slight technical difficulty. That wasn't over in Japan, that was over with us. But let's take a little bit of a stock about where the game's at. It's now a 2K lead for SoftBank Hawks, and a Deadman's Plate picked up for Tussle on this Jarvan.
No, that's not a Deadman's Plate.
That's a Stone Plate.
Oh.
We're in. It's all working.
Yeah.
Chat. We'll try and fix it again. But here we are.
Yeah, but thing is that we're obviously not watching chat as casters, so what that means is actually you're just bothering Lexi more. And, you know, we love it when that happens. We don't work him hard enough. We do. He's a lovely guy. He's working very hard for us. So thank you very much to Massive Swan.
But we're also just not nice people, so we enjoy it, you know.
But also, thank you for putting up with that technical It's bound to happen at some point. Those paddle stars in the game with the Ludens and a little bit of extra AP picked up by Aria. This Zoe really hurts.
And again, we were talking about that Zoe and her potential to blow things up, and it's going to be the first Infernal fight of the game. It is Infernal Race. This will be the third Drake now for SoftBank Hawks if they can claim it.
Big fight.
Ramonade trying to throw out poke, but so is
Good flash
gaming,
from
and
Yoshi.
it means that Tussle does manage to claim it, but he's been kicked over the wall, and
dead.
she's just been deleted there by the Zoe. But that's a good bullet time in response. Nap gets a massive shield from the Haymaker, and Senna deletes the Kale. That's where the Infernal Drake secured by SoftBank Hawks, but they lose 2 players for it.
Oh, that's some flashbacks to Shy. Really strong Kale coming into that fight. Dies with flash, dies with ultimate. That's a fantastic pickup for CGA, even though they give up soul points to SoftBank Hawk.
Yeah, but CGA are going to be able to shove in on this mid lane and might be able to claim that in recompense. I think they probably are going to be able to, because I don't think Honey and Pooh want to pick up to this. Senna is still really strong. This Zoe is hiding around somewhere, and they don't want to get hit by another bubble.
Yeah, so Yoshi flashed away from the Jarvan re-engage there, did lose the Smite fight, but it was kind of to be expected because he was down a couple of levels. As we see here, the Infernal Rift allowed SoftBank to get into this Dragon fight relatively uncontested by the Zoe, but it's just in this fight afterwards. Ramonade just goes flying, takes the route mid-flight from Gango, gets shut down by Ari at the end of the route. Fantastic marksmanship from Gango, and while this is a decent bullet time, gets a lot of damage onto Nap, it's only Nap. And then we see Dasher walk forward straight into this 2-item Senna who just deletes that Kale.
I think during that as well, a bubble landed just to maximize the damage that Kale was taking. That was like full health mortal gone. I can understand why he thought, maybe I don't need to throw my ult quite yet, and clearly he did.
Yeah, and you know what's actually quite important about, there's a certain matchup in here, which is that actually none of Senna's damage is considered a projectile. It is not stopped by Braum's Unbreakable. If you stand there with a shield up, it's why it doesn't work on Yasuo Windwall. If you stand there autoing and queuing, you're going to hit everyone regardless of whether the shield's up or not.
We've all been complaining about how Yasuo Windwall blocks absolutely everything. Not Senna, it turns out. You found your counter, ladies and gentlemen. Learn it, love it, possibly hate it.
What's funny is that actually Kale was the old Yasuo counter for that reason, because you had like the ranged auto attacks on the E, which were just a animation and then just there was no projectile and it was just instant damage. And it was actually quite a similar thing with Vel'Koz's ult as well. Well, not a similar thing, but Vel'Koz's ult. I remember when Vel'Koz was released, it was one of my first champion releases. There was an AMA about Vel'Koz and how he worked, and people going, well, can Yasuo Windwall block Vel'Koz's ult? Because that was one of the questions about any new champion back in the day, was can Yasuo block all of their important stuff? And not even Yasuo's body blocks blocks the Vel'Koz's ult. As we see Dasher going down into this bot lane and just, you know, putting the hurt onto Nap again.
We are seeing Gango come streaming forward with the Black Mist, but Dasher runs away. Uses that heal speed up buff. Not a problem. And that there is ended. We've seen the Adaptive Helm picked up there for Set, which might just keep him alive a little longer in this side lane.
Yeah, I think that is important because obviously Corki deals mostly magic damage, which means that if you start auto-attacking Set as this Corki, every auto after the first is going to take less damage. Same with the Kale as well. A lot of magic damage came out of that champion. Although the thing about Kale is that she just, and both Corki as well, they just do so much damage. Eventually, it will just kind of outweigh that that passive from Abyssal, from Adaptive Helm. not Abyssal Mask, it's another item.
I grant you there's a certain similarity in the color scheme and
oh, we're talking about colors again, are we?
We are. We're talking about purple color schemes right now. You know, Abyssal Mask, it's a purple helmet, so is Adaptive Elf. I'll give you a pass.
For those who didn't watch yesterday, I was so done with one of the team compositions that I started talking about the colors of every champion because they were mostly blue. But we're not going to do that today, I don't think. I do quite like this composition from the Hawks. I do like the fact that Jarvan has that attack speed buff to give all 3 of his carries, who are all attack speed champions. And actually, Jarvan has had quite a good amount of buffs to that one ability in particular, the Demacian Standard, to give that attack speed. So, you know, he's in a pretty strong place right now.
That's fair to say. I think it's also worth pointing out that actually this Kayle has managed to find consistent pressure on this bot lane tier 2. It's on sliver of HP, and they're going to have to be really careful, our CGA, about this Kayle. But we're looking at no backs. They're not going to stick around. Dasher just pushed out another wave, and this side wave pressure continues from the SoftBank Hawks. Yeah, the last fight didn't go so well, but they're finding ways to still remain with pressure on the map, is how we'll phrase it.
Yeah, but while this is happening, actually the gold is remaining pretty even on the whole.
I agree. And speaking of things that are not even, this is Soul Point. Infernal Drake spawning in 18 seconds, and I can guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a fight over this.
Yeah, if the dragon doesn't fall, then there's going to be champions around it, and if the dragon does fall, if it's the Hawks who pick up the soul, hopefully going to try and leverage that advantage. The package picked up from Ramune, importantly for this fight. See if there's another big package coming in across the team. All
right, ladies and gents, we're going to have to keep an eye particularly on Zoe. There's a lot of way to get roots down and stuns down and all forms of CC down onto the side of SoftBank Hawks. If that lands a little bit like that, yep, we could see the last team fight go like it did, but there is still a lot of engage, a lot of damage now. He has. They have been spotted though with a good control ward. Dasher is just going to chase Nap off. Doesn't need to be here. It's a 4v4 around the Drake and a 1v1 down by this bush, but Nap's going to come raring around the corner, just out of vision, trying to make sure he can get onto the flank. Dragon down to just below 1,000, and Zoe is stolen. That is not Infernal Soul now for SoftBank, but they're going for an engage. That's a Braum flash engage with the Glacier Fisher. Gango and so much damage. Zoe just deleted. Ult is too late, and we're looking at a good face breaker. Zoe gets a double now, taking out the Braum as well. She is a monster. Nap running forwards on this Mecha Kingdom skin, and she is nightmare. Arya, you god.
Yeah, Arya is just absolutely carrying this team of CGA around these objective fights. Last time we saw the absolute assassination onto Ramune, and this fight we see a 3-man paddle star onto the grouped members of Sengoku, and not Sengoku, SoftBank Hawks Gaming, another key team completely, and now we see them moving over towards the Baron.
Teleport coming in from the Kayle, tussles around, they will at least contest, and there's a fair amount of poke. Kayle on 2.5 items, so not terribly weak, does have some strength, does have some levels. She's 1 level off the level 16. Does she get it off this camp? No, not quite. Tussle level 11. What level is that Lee Sin? Is he around? Yoshi is level 11. He's turned up as well. Yeah. So it's going to be an even smite fight. How we go? We're looking at Pooh and Honey have respawned an R here. This could be trouble. We're looking at just going over 2,000 HP now. That's Set. But look, Kayle's behind, and they've got the Baron. But Set goes down, but they'll take that as a worthy trade. It's a 1-for-1, in fact, because Zoe's killed Tussle as he tried to go in.
Yeah, Nap had a really good plan there, just try and show stop with the Baron still, but it almost happened anyway. The Flag Dragon, the Flash, being a massive gap closure from Tussle. But in these objective fights, as we're going back to the Dragon fight, another interesting fight here, what we see is actually the knockup actually hit onto the Lee Sin there before the smite came down. It's quite an interesting thing. I was going to mention that Lee Sin has a pretty fantastic objective secure, and oh man, that was just really sad from Dasher. This Kayle ult did not come down onto the Misfortune, the one person who took all of the damage there. Fantastic 3-man route from Gango there, didn't call that out in the team fight there, just too much stuff was happening, and yeah, a pretty awful team fight from the side of the Hawks.
Indeed it was, and that's going to give Baron pressure and a lot of control over to CGA. This Zoe is really strong. But Kayle has finally ticked over to her final form. She's level 16. That Aether Wing has been dyed black. And along with it is the Rage Blade pick. That means that if Dasher can step up, can start throwing some of these autos down. There could be some serious damage coming out, but we'll have to see whether CGA will even give them the opportunity, because as we said, Aria is deleting people for a long fight to happen, but Tussel's gone for a flag and drag forward. The teleport coming down on instead, and yeah, Ramone has taken a lot of damage. He's 3-1-4 himself. He can probably put out quite a lot, but it doesn't matter because the siege continues. Yeah, they've got a lot of poke, but not the fastest tower take to CGA.
You know what the fun thing about that is? Probably the biggest gain was the fact that Senna got about 3 souls out of that. Oh no, we've got another ad break. We'll sort it out after this game, guys. We're going to have to wait for another 30 seconds. Sorry about this. Lexi, what do you make of this game as we have yet more?
Pretty much everybody dying on the side of SoftBank Hawks. Kale left alone. Ramone getting rooted by the Shadow Embrace and is just deleted.
And at this point, actually, Senna just has so much attack range that you just can't actually outrange her as the Kale and stuff. So as is tradition, you know, we get all our technical difficulties at the most important time of the game, which is the game ending. Congratulations, Crest, taking down the SoftBank Hawks.
Listen to our producer sigh. He's upset. We're upset. The game was a great one. We're sorry it came with so many difficulties.
I feel like SoftBank played like our technical difficulties. Fuck. That was that was well done, Crest, though. Well done, Crest.
Absolutely. And we're seeing Aria is still is basically what this is.
Yeah, so what did you make of that victory? Sorry, guys, for the guys in chat. It is just teething difficulties with this whole new setup. Like we said, we've had to avoid all the storm weather. It's been a bit of a hectic day, but we thought we'd try and bring it to you anyway, just because we want to get things done in a timely fashion.
We will try and fix some of these problems during the break we will be going on. But let's first talk a little bit about this game that we just witnessed for obvious reasons, because I think that's still important. So there were some core things. Obviously, SoftBank took a very early lead, getting that 2-1 up. Getting Ramone on the getting a kill, J4 getting kill, and only losing their support Braum, which to be honest, you're pretty okay with that trade, and with Lee Sin and Senna only getting the gold, relative speaking, you're actually pretty happy with that early trade.
Indeed, and I think there's also something to be said for, right, that actually SoftBank Hawks started out pretty strong. We looked at them get up to Infernal Soul Point. We looked at a Kale that was looking really strong in a side lane. We looked at a Corki that had the items. We were looking at an MF that had items. But it didn't matter in the end because it took so many fights around that dragon afterwards where someone would get rooted, someone would then get detonated by the Zoe, and it would then be an uneven fight from there, right? And Crest Gaming would just run over the fight from it.
Yeah, and that was it, right? Like, Crest Gaming just basically outplayed in the 2 big team fights they needed to win. If they had lost either of them, I think the game goes completely differently, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and I think the big one was Dasher not ulting Honey around that.
Yeah.
The soul point. No, yeah, that one big team fight. It was a big 3-man route. Don't get me wrong, but like when you have that much time to see Zoe flying at you, your one important skill is to save your carry, right? And it didn't happen. Literally, Honey was the only person that took damage. You're not literally, it's not the kind of thing where you're trying to calculate who's going to take damage, who do I need to ult. It's this thing's heading towards your carry. Save the carry.
And actually, there was 2 times. There was one where Dasher himself got blown up as well, where he didn't ult.
True.
And
right
actually, that is 2 massively key times that Divine Judgment needed to come down, wasn't brought down, and CGA really profited off it.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. Dasher actually had that second time when they were getting the Infernal Dragon for the Infernal Soul. And then there was that team fight where Kale, Dasher could have ulted MF Honey. That might be what you were talking about, but he could have ulted Honey after Ramone had used his package ult going across the side, and then just Honey got blown up. And then
I have to say, out of the new AD carries that we've seen so far, which is like Archer, Gango, and Honey, Honey's the one which hasn't impressed me that much. I think the other 2 had moments of brilliance, but I think Honey had a relatively quiet game on a power pick of the MF. Didn't really get to have a stunning team fight, even on those 2-3 item marks. So I'll be looking for Honey to step up in his further games.
Yeah. I will say there was something impressive about the fact that actually Yoshi was down in that bot lane. pretty much permanently for the first 10 minutes. And Misfortune managed to not die despite, level 2 Dower dives, massive engages, teleports, you name it. So I'll give Honey some credit on that front. And there was always the problem, right, that yes, you've got a Braum, but you've also got sets coming from odd angles. You've got Zoe bubbles and Senna Roots coming out. It was quite difficult for Misfortune to step forward and ult at all, really. She's the one with the lowest range for the carries in a lot of ways, or at least the least mobility. And that made things difficult. But you're right, I do want to see more out of Honey. It wasn't a bad game, per se, from him. But coming into a team that we rate as highly as SoftBank Hawks, we want to see a bit more out of that.
Well, we won't have to wait for very much longer. Our next game that we will be back into after this break will be Fukuoka SoftBank Gaming versus Sengoku Gaming. Again, as I said, this is our game of this week. And we will get to see Honey in action again. Can he redeem himself? Can the team actually have a somewhat stable team fight? Or
can we defeat the ads during Twitch streams?
I mean, that's a whole nother thing. But we will be right back after this break.
Thank you for putting up with us.